because the victim's party has just gone up those stairs and that they are on that second landing getting ready to enter in the club. They don't even go up to the sidewalk. They stay well in that parking lot, and they end up walking to the sign. Is a sign a tourist attraction, something of interest that they would need to go to? They are purposely avoiding that door because Isaiah Chance knows Julio Foolio. And there is no reaction by the defendant. There is no surprise. There's no reaction like, why in the world are we walking to the sign and the roadway and not going to the club if they truly are going clubbing? It is because it is a lie. She knows exactly what is going on. You know exactly the type of conversations that are happening inside that black Chevy Impala. The homicide scene. You have seen video of this many times now. I'm not going to show it again. But again, there is that coordination. You saw the USF poll cam. It is their car, the defendant, and Isaiah Chance in that silver Chevy Cruze that is following behind the victim and the two other vehicles with the victim. They don't pull into the home to suites because they're not the gunmen. They don't have any of the shooters in their car. They have to wait. You know that there is, again, communication that has to be happening between those two vehicles. It is no coincidence that at two locations where the victim is, the silver Chevy Cruze appears, and then shortly thereafter, the black Impala appears. And then at the third location, that is not ever advertised, never advertised anywhere. They just go to those hotels to get a room. The only way, the only possible way that Sean Gathright and that black Chevy Impala could possibly know where the victims are, because you know he's tracking them. You saw from his phone, he's trying to get this Kayla Enright or his sister to be able to call somebody who's with Six to find where he is earlier in the night when he's at the Airbnb. They're trying to get an address. There's only two locations they know where Charles Jones is going to be, and that is at Teasers and Truth 18. The only way the shooter, Sean Gathright, and the other two shooters in that black Chevy Impala could possibly know where the victim is because the silver Chevy Cruze, who has been following that car all along from Truth 18 to the home to suites, called them and told them. And as soon as the black Chevy Impala makes that U-turn and goes into that McKinley entrance, the silver Chevy Cruze with the defendant and the victim go right into the entrance and do what they have been doing all night, and that is act as surveillance. They are eyes on the victim. Where is he? And the reason why the gunmen know exactly where the victim is because that silver Chevy Cruze drives right in front of it and know where the victim is at the time of the shooting. Principles. If the defendant helped another person or persons commit or attempt to commit a crime, the defendant is a principal and must be treated as if she had done all the things the other person or persons did if the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant intended to commit the crime and the defendant did some act or said something that was intended and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit or attempt to commit a crime. That is an or there. They only have to do one of those things: incite, cause, encourage, assist. She did more. She assisted. She did more than just assist. She participated. She was part of the tracking team. She tried to get the Airbnb, and she provided that cover for Isaiah Chance so that he could actively stalk the victim all night. Incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit. And then again, if we have proven those two things, you have to treat her as if she had done all the things the other person or persons did. You have to treat her as if she had done all the things that Isaiah Chance did, all the things that Sean Gathright did, all the things that Davian Murphy did, and all the things that Rashad Murphy did. I want to go back to murder really quickly. We have 3 elements to prove.
In the early morning hours of Sunday, June 23rd.
One thing that is not on the murder in the first degree elements, and that is motive. The state never has to prove motive. Motive is something that is in a person's mind. We may never know the reason why things are done, especially when the defendant is not willing to say why they did a thing. So that is something that is not an element of the offense. We never have to prove motive. But in this case, there is overwhelming evidence of motive. You have heard about this gang war. You have heard how it has affected her, and you have heard how it has affected her boyfriend. And he is a part of it. He is in it. And he is out for revenge. And she is doing everything that she can to assist him in achieving what he wants, and that is for Charles Jones, for Julio Foolio, to be shot and killed. This is the evidence in this case. We had cell phone evidence, we had video evidence, and which quickly led to all of them, led to Jacksonville, that led law enforcement to this gang war, was license plate readers. There is no doubt that that silver Chevy Cruze and that black Chevy Impala were in tandem. Not only are they at all of those locations here in Tampa when they were committing this crime, they drove down together. These are the same points of interest when they are hitting off of the same license plate reader. The defendant, when she is in that interview room with law enforcement, I told you, she never admitted what she did. Just because a defendant doesn't admit what she did doesn't mean we do not prove intent. Doesn't mean that there isn't evidence, that there isn't overwhelming evidence, proof beyond all reasonable doubt of her intent. And that is called consciousness of guilt evidence. Evidence of a defendant who purposely evades prosecution, who purposely lies to law enforcement officers to evade getting caught. That is called consciousness of guilt evidence. There is a reason why a person lies to law enforcement. That is called consciousness of guilt, and that is evidence of her intent. If she truly knew nothing about this incident, if she truly was an innocent bystander, then the truth will set you free. If she would have provided law enforcement officers all of the information and been honest with them, then that would have shown that she had nothing to hide, that she was not involved in this, and she would have no reason to lie. If she truly didn't know what her boyfriend and their friends were doing, there would be no reason to lie. The interview would look a lot different. It would look like, I literally was just there with my boyfriend. This is what his name is. This is who he was with. This is where we came from. Yes, there were 3 other people there. I don't know how they got there. What else can I tell you? Because you heard law enforcement. They know that she has not been in trouble before. And they are pressing her. And they are trying to impart to her the seriousness of the allegation and the proof against her. They already have the video footage. They already have her phone. They already know her involvement at the Airbnb. But there is lie after lie after lie, just like she did on that stand in this courtroom today. And there is only one reason she needs to lie, and that is because the truth is that she is guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and conspiring with all of the defendants in this case to commit first-degree premeditated murder. There is no reason for her to forget how she gets in the door. And the detective may have had it wrong about her being the one to enter the access code. But what he certainly didn't have wrong is the lock code. That door is only unlocked 3 times. One by the person who first gets in and not captured on the video, and that's the one where you just see her walk in, because whoever, whether it was Isaiah Chance or Sean Gathright, very quickly exits or puts in the access code, gets in, and the door automatically locks behind. And she's coming along with her bag, and the door is shut, and nothing happens. That matches up with the lock code. She goes off to the back, and then comes back, and somebody lets her in on the lock code. Then there is a lock code where it is open, as if somebody is checking to make sure the lock is closed, but they don't open the door. No video footage of that. No other video footage from that night of her going to the McDonald's. She leaves to go to the McDonald's. She comes back. She leaves with all of her co-defendants to hunt down Charles Jones, and she comes back. Why in the world does she have to lie to law enforcement that she's using a back door? Because she knows she is protecting Isaiah Chance. She is protecting Rashad Murphy. She is protecting Davian Murphy. She went to Raines High School, and she would have you believe that she has no connection to Spaz, to Joe Rod Adams. He was killed. She was talking to her friend, her good friend Jewel Jones, about that homicide, and their good friend Will wasn't killed. But he was shot in that same homicide of Spaz, Joe Rod Adams. And Joe Rod Adams is the little brother of Rashad Murphy and the cousin to Davian Murphy. And she would have you think and believe she has no idea who they are. Do you believe that? That she has no idea and had no conversation with either of them, and they all have the connection of a deceased person by the name of Joe Rod Adams. And in that 3.5 ride back to Tampa in the Uber with Rashad Murphy, she doesn't have one conversation with him. There are connection after connection to this gang war with all 5 of the co-defendants in this case. This Airbnb, she is lying to law enforcement about it because she is a part of it. She is in the loop, and she is covering for all of them. And she knows that she is covering for all of them, and she knows that they purposely knew that there was a video camera on that ring door. And regardless of whether law enforcement got it wrong about the door, they certainly got it right. She's the only one seen on it. Why in the world, if people are there on a just romantic reconciliation to get back together, when you have bags to unload and you are there for lawful purposes on vacation, you would park in the 2 spots designated for the apartment with the easiest way to carry bags in. They're right there. They're open. They're not taken. That is because they don't want to be seen on a ring camera in Tampa less than 2 miles from the homicide scene, unloading those large, heavy bags that you saw Isaiah Chance and Sean Gathright load into that black Impala. They have to make sure nobody is seen on camera, and they go around to the back and go through a backyard, not even a walkway, through some grass, to get to a back sliding door because they are all there to commit a crime. Again, she's covered. She's not involved in the gang. She can be seen on the Ring camera. They can use her phone, because that is what the cover story is, right? That is the cover story. That is what she's sticking with. That is what she told law enforcement, that she's just there with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, and they're just tourists, right? That's what they tell the law enforcement officers in that interview room. We can drive anywhere. Tampa's a tourist city, right? Just a big coincidence. That's the cover story. That is another part of the conspiracy. And there certainly would be no reason to lie to law enforcement about the door at all unless she is in on it, unless she knows. If she doesn't know, then what she would have told the law enforcement officer is, oh, my boyfriend just walked in before me. I was there, but the rest of the night, for some reason, we used the back door, and she would give a reason. There is a reason she doesn't remember. There's nothing wrong with her mind. She doesn't have a memory issue. The one time she comes to Tampa and they're unloading and they're walking through the dark backyard every time to get in would be something that she would remember. And if she's not doing something criminal, she could tell and talk about it. Isaiah Chance is there, Davian Murphy, Sean Gathright. The Uber driver that takes us all the way from Tampa, where we finally know there are 5 people involved in this crime. There are 2 in the tracker vehicle, the surveillance vehicle, and there are 3 armed gunmen, and all of them stay at this Airbnb. Another lie. She lies to law enforcement. At first, it's just her and Isaiah Chance. It's just me and him, and you can listen to that audio again. Because she lies and she lies until she is confronted with evidence, and then the story changes. So it's not just her and Isaiah Chance, because they show her more evidence, and all of a sudden she knows, oh, they know Sean Gathright is there as well. They show him a photograph. And even though she has been in a car with him for 3.5 hours, and she has been in this Airbnb, she can't identify his photo. She will not give them any information, not a name. She would have you believe she only knows him as Little Bro. She won't give a description of him, and she certainly isn't going to pick out his photograph. But it is more evidence, not just their phone evidence. There is a witness that we now know and have the 5th person involved in this homicide, first-degree murder, and conspiracy, and that is because they take an Uber. And the Uber driver and the tracking, again, of license plate readers, we know that the Uber driver who gives Detective Ramos his trip ticket, who took them from Tampa, they had one stop at a gas station, but the same 3 people he picked up is the same 3 people for $187.51 that he takes to Sean Gathright's house, where we find all of the evidence of those firearms in his house. And we then find Alicia Andrews there, as well as Rashad Murphy for the first time, and again, Isaiah Chance. So the evidence in this case is overwhelming. And Mr. Harmon told you there is a mountain of evidence. And all of this evidence, the digital evidence, the video evidence, the cell phone evidence, the cell hawk mapping that you saw in this case, and the phone messages that you saw from her device show and bring to light the conspiracy that occurred in this case between all 5 of the co-defendants acting together and conspiring together. The conspiracy count in this case: to prove the crime of criminal conspiracy, the state must prove the following 2 elements beyond a reasonable doubt. The intent of Alicia Andrews was that the offense of first-degree murder would be committed. In order to carry out the intent, Alicia Andrews agreed, conspired, combined, confederated with Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, Rashad Murphy, or Davian Murphy, or other diverse persons to cause the first-degree murder to be committed either by them or one of them, or by some other person. It is not necessary that the agreement, conspiracy, combination, confederation to commit first-degree premeditated murder must be expressed in any particular words, or that words pass between the conspirators. It is not necessary that the defendant do any act in furtherance of the offense conspired. This count is just the agreement. They don't have to actually commit it. They don't have to do an act in furtherance. This is just the agreement to do it together. And you know, based on their actions, that they all conspired to do this. Rashad Murphy, more evidence. This investigation led to Auburndale in Florida, Sean Gathwright's grandmother's house, to Jacksonville, to his residence in Jacksonville, and it led to Gwinnett County as well, where he is caught in that silver Chevy Cruze that belongs to a person that dates one of his family members. And then Jacksonville Sheriff's Office also assisted and got photographs, a video from Walmart that occurred on 6/21, where the defendant is seen in there, Rashad Murphy, the co-defendant, Rashad Murphy, is seen there buying some stuff. And they see what he is wearing, and they compare it to the still videos that are taken in this case. More evidence again. He's not just driving the tracking vehicle. He's not just found with the tracking vehicle. More consciousness of guilt evidence. Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office locate him in the second suspect murder vehicle in this case in Tampa. And we are days later. He is far removed from Tampa. And he is in the silver Chevy Cruze. And what does he do when law enforcement authorities from Georgia approach? He flees. More consciousness of guilt. You don't need Rashad Murphy on recording saying what he did. His actions, just like Alicia Andrews' actions after this crime, show their guilt. He fled because he knew what he had done, and he knew what vehicle he was in. The phone evidence in this case: Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, Davian Murphy, Alicia Andrews. You have all the evidence in this case about the phones. And just like the video evidence tracks them, just like all the photographs on the license plate reader of the silver Chevy Cruze and the black Chevy Impala, you have all of their phone and the timing advance showing that Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, and Davian Murphy, they all traveled together to Tampa from Jacksonville. It was coordinated. There is a reason it is coordinated. This was the plan all along. That is the only reason they were in Tampa, and that was to hunt and kill and gun down Charles Jones. That is the only reason. All of the evidence in this case shows you that. You were able to see, based on the video evidence in this case for yourselves, that he was hunted, that he was stalked, and that he was tracked, and that it was well coordinated. The McDonald's video COVID mask, another lie. It is not her clubbing attire. It is part of her disguise. It is a part of Isaiah Chance's disguise. Do you think Isaiah Chance has any concerns about his health? Why is he wearing a COVID mask? It is to mask his face. She gives every reason to law enforcement why it is that she's wearing a COVID mask. Again, every time she is confronted in that interview, she lies again. She says that she's concerned about her health, and then because of all the smoke in the clubbing. You saw from this video at the McDonald's that her co-defendant, Davian Murphy, the driver, is sitting there puffing away while she is in the seat next to him, not wearing a COVID mask. She's not wearing a COVID mask when she gets into an Uber with a stranger and is in a car, a small confined space with him for 3.5 hours. She's not wearing a COVID mask when she gets out of that car. She's not wearing a COVID mask when she goes into the Airbnb on Gazebo Pond Lane. But her phone tracks her everywhere, and that is why you get to see all of the video footage from that night. This was on the phone, again, showing them tracking and going back to teasers to stalk the victim. All of the license plate readers, all of the cell phone mapping, State's Exhibit 77, which you heard from Detective Ramos, they don't just rely on the records provided to them by the cell phone companies. They actually verify and confirm the accuracy of those timing of the cell phone records by seeing if they could provide visual evidence. You heard from the defense expert, and you heard from the defense attorney questioning the defense expert, saying like, oh, they purposely kept out Players Club. They didn't purposely keep out Players Club. You heard from Detective Ramos that not only him, there are other members of the Tampa Police Department looking for surveillance video based on the timing advance records of the defendant. They were hoping to get video evidence of her everywhere. You heard of all the places they went looking for and asking for videos. That is what they were scouring. They were looking at the timing advance, trying to see where she had been, and they are following that path to see if they could get video footage of the suspects. And you saw that they got it at McDonald's. You saw that they got it at the USF poll cam. But you heard from Detective Ramos that there were no video footage at this Players Club. You heard from their expert that they are in the vicinity of Players Club. That is just another lie that she is telling you on the stand. There is no evidence whatsoever that they are doing anything but staging, waiting for the victim again to go to another location. But to fit into her story that she's just here for clubbing and not another lie to law enforcement, she must have gone to some other club to ask a bouncer whether or not the price was too high for them to get in. So what is it? Is the price too high? So they didn't go in? So that would make 3 clubs that she didn't go in. And the whole purpose of her coming to Tampa was to go clubbing. Again, she is telling lie after lie, and you get to judge her credibility and determine whether or not you believe any single word that came out of her mouth. This is that photo taken at Truth 18. This is her leaving. And we did ask about the bag. Is any of the AR rifles in the bag? We are not suggesting that there is any AR rifles in the bag. What we are suggesting to you, again, is that she is assisting. She knows all of the people. They are unloading that car at the same time. That is a bag that comes from Sean Gathrigh's house. It is loaded from Sean Gathrigh's house into the black Chevy Impala, and then it is unloaded again into Sean Gathrigh's house. She's telling you on the stand today that that belongs to her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. We see Isaiah Chance unload his vehicle. He never takes out a a pink duffel bag. Does it have the AR rifles in it? No. Does it have could it possibly have had clothes? We don't know. It is big enough to carry a firearm. It is big enough to carry ammunition. We don't ever have to prove to you what is in that bag. It is just another piece of evidence saying she is assisting them, she knows what is going on, and she is participating. She's not going to, she can't talk to any of these people, she can't have communication with any of these people, yet she can carry their bags out. She is comfortable with all of them. There isn't anything in these videos that suggests to you that she is afraid of any of them, that she is uncomfortable with any of them, or that she is scared of any of them. And I would suggest to you, when you're evaluating her testimony and what she said on the stand, it is full of not only lies, but contradictions. Is she afraid of Isaiah Chance? Was she forced to go on this trip? Was she a victim of domestic violence? Is she controlled by him? Yet she wants to make sure you know she doesn't live with him. She lives with her parents. And she can certainly tell him in a video and use language that isn't really suggestive of somebody who's truly afraid of somebody who can commit and control and make sure that they know every single thing that that person is doing. You judge that person's credibility and why it is they're telling you what they're telling you on that stand. Again, the cell phone mapping of her phone. Cell phone mapping of her boyfriend's phone. There's only one time when he's using it, and that is close in time to the murder. And you know that there is a desperate attempt to get a hold of the other car. You have that pick up the phone, and then sharing of location, and then a couple of uses very close in time to where it is critical to get information to the shooters and the black Chevy Impala at 4:41 and 4:52 a.m. in the morning. This is that silver Chevy Cruze, again, with some unique identifying information. But you don't need that photograph. You don't need the license plate readers to know and to be able to be convinced overwhelmingly that she was in that vehicle, because she told you herself, in that interview with law enforcement, and you heard it. You heard before they really started confronting her with the evidence when they showed her photographs that she admitted that she was in those videos. So there is no doubt that she participated in her crime. There is no doubt as to her identity and her participation and everything that she has done in this case. And based on all the facts and all the circumstances of the evidence in this case, there is no reasonable doubt that she intended for this crime to be committed and that she assisted. She did more than assist. She participated as part of that surveillance team, posing as just normal, everyday people just happening to be walking in a parking lot so that her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, would not be detected by the rival gang, Mr. Rich Off War. There is no doubt that there was a war in Jacksonville involving both of these gangs, and that it came to Tampa when the defendant and all of her co-defendants brought it here. She is guilty of first-degree premeditated murder as a principal in this case, and she is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree premeditated murder. And all of the evidence shows and proves to you beyond all reasonable doubt that she is guilty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to take a quick 2-minute comfort break, okay? Then we'll come back and we'll hear the defense closing argument.
All right.
Yeah, she has to be terrified. That's got to be scary. I mean, as morbid and as dark and as devastating as the crime itself was, it still has to be a scary thing that you're sitting there essentially alone, facing that type of penalty. I mean, she's facing potentially a life sentence. They could have sorted out the death penalty, but I don't think that, even if they did, I don't think they would give that to her because she didn't pull the trigger, even though, as they say, the conspirators of it should be treated just like those who did it. But I think even the judge as well as the jury would know that there's some level of immaturity and upbringing and outright just being dumb and stupid that some of it, in some strange way, is not on this young lady, Alicia Andrews. So I think that's where, if we want to talk about grace, if they find her guilty, she might get some grace. They might give the judge. I don't think the judge is going to max her out. That's what I'm getting at. I don't think the judge is going to max her out. I don't see that. 5 people charged, I think, totally in this, and as I understand it, she decided not to waive her right to a speedy trial. And that's why she's being tried first. Her lawyer said on some podcasts, as I understand it, that she was not offered a plea bargain at all. Her law team said she wasn't offered a plea bargain. So that's that. But one of the reasons why she's being tried first is because, again, she didn't waive her right to a speedy trial. The other defendants did. If they had witnesses and different things like that, so there's some legitimate reasons why a defendant, somebody being charged, might waive their right to a speedy trial. But for the most part, many people who know that they're guilty, they're the ones that waive their right to a speedy trial because they're trying to delay the inevitable. And what is the inevitable? The inevitable is that you're guilty. You're just guilty. So you're trying to delay getting in front of that jury. You're trying to delay getting in front of the judge. You're trying to delay the nightmares of you receiving life in prison, 25 to 50, and all of this just life-sucking sentencing and language used at you. You don't have a hope or a prayer. At least, I guess, in certain minds, they're thinking, well, I'll just waive my right to a speedy trial and drag this out for a few years so I can live under the HOPE program, so I could live under the idea that something better might come out of this, you know, different things like that. But the murder itself was just crazy and probably so damn avoidable. Here's a clip from Fox News 2 years ago or whenever this happened. Let's listen to this.
3rd, Jacksonville rapper Charles Jones arrived at Teaser's Gentlemen's Club in Tampa for a paid performance.
He is the gentleman wearing the red beanie hat.
That's Tampa Police Homicide Detective Juan Ramos identifying the rapper, known as Julio Foolio, in new surveillance video from the club's parking lot. Suspects Alicia Andrews, Isaiah Chance, and Sean Gathright watched this video in court Thursday, too. All 3 face charges in Jones's death in what investigators say was an ongoing rival gang war. After leaving Teasers, the rapper went down the street to Truth 18 nightclub for an after party, posting on social media in live time.
This is the video here from his Instagram.
Surveillance video from outside that club shows how 2 suspect vehicles continued to follow Jones, just as they did at Teasers, and eventually to the Home 2 suites near USF.
They're approaching the victim's position on foot.
Video from the hotel and a parked Tesla show 3 shooters firing several shots at the vehicle Jones was riding in, killing him. With video playing such a big role in this case, Gathwright's attorney pushed back.
Once again, there is no actual video or identifiable footage that shows that Mr. Gathwright was physically present at Home 2 Suites. Is that correct?
Correct.
The state presented a picture from Gathwright's cell phone taken one day after the murder, showing a bottle of Don Julio. The detective testified that, based on gang knowledge, this represents an insult to the rapper Julio Foolio. Here's Gathwright's attorney.
Were you able to ascertain if my client, Mr. Gathwright, was the one that actually purchased Don Julio?
No.
So anybody could have been at that club and purchased it?
Yes, of course.
In Tampa.
Tampa investigators say 5 people came down from Jacksonville and worked together to follow and ultimately kill a rapper who was here celebrating his birthday. 4 of those suspects appeared in court today. Fox 13's Ariel Placencia joins us live in Tampa. And Ariel, we know authorities are still searching for the 5th suspect, but you saw the 4 defendants in court today. What happened?
Well, Linda, today we learned that the state announced that it is considering the death penalty in this case, but a final decision has not been made yet on which of those defendants, if any, will be facing it.
All right, so all defendants are present, as well as their counsel and the state.
That's 4 defendants with 4 different attorneys, all appearing together in a Hillsborough County courtroom Wednesday. Rashad Murphy, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, and Alicia Andrews are accused of making the trip down from Jacksonville to follow and track rapper Charles Jones as he moved around Tampa to celebrate his birthday in June. Eventually, the rapper, who also goes by the name Julio Foolio, went to the Home 2 Suites near USF, where surveillance video recorded 3 shooters firing at his vehicle in the parking lot, killing him, in what investigators have described as an ongoing gang war. In court Wednesday, the attorneys described a large amount of evidence.
So yeah, they're back live in court. And I think the defense attorneys are about to do a closeout. The last couple clips I was just showing for over the last 10 minutes, that was a year ago. That's when this crime first occurred, and they was just showing some arrests, some of the highlights from when the video footage from the crime being committed was first released, and some of the court appearances. But today, right now, live, that's Alicia Andrews sitting there taking notes or whatever she's doing. I think she's 21, 22 years old. At this point, she was 19 when she started dating this guy or whatever. But the thing is, this girl don't stand a chance. She don't stand a chance. That's the thing. That's the reality of it. Sitting there. She guilty. The judge knows she guilty. The jury knows she guilty. The goddamn water fountain knows she guilty. Hopefully, they find her guilty, and the judge, of course, has a minimum mandatory, depending on what counts they find her guilty of. But hopefully the judge applying that.
Mr. McClellan, can we get going while the rest of your team looks for the exhibit? Okay, very good. All right, let's bring in our jurors. Oh, and I'm sorry, before we begin, do either the state or the defense object to me reminding the jurors that their identities will be confidential and that I've entered an order sealing the records regarding their names and that the signature and name of the foreperson will be redacted from the public record?
I have no objection, Judge.
No objection.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, this is definitely sad. It's heartbreaking. I mean, for everybody.
Yes?
All rise.
The license, toll booths, the
Okay, very good. Thank you.
The
Welcome back. All right, thank you,
Airbnbs,
Mr.
the
McClymonds. Everyone have a
phone
seat.
call.
You can proceed.
In the old days, old days, there was a warrior who had a best friend. This best friend of his was a dog. He named him Taz. These two went everywhere together. They were inseparable. But as time would have it, this warrior would get called off to war from time to time, and the dog would follow him out of the castle, out into the courtyard, past the threshold, to the crossroads, and he would leave Taz at the crossroads to go off for war. It no matter if he was gone for a month, 3 months, 6 months, every time he came back from war to the crossroad, he saw his dog, Taz, there, his best friend. One time, he took a wife who bore him a child, and he had to go away to war. He came back one time, and he didn't see Taz at the crossroads. And that was strange. So he goes through the threshold into the courtyard, and there he sees Taz. But something is wrong with Taz. He's on the ground. He's not really moving. He's low to the ground. And there's this weird color to his fur. Taz leads him into the courtyard, into the castle, into a room where the bassinet was at for the baby. And there's blood all around the bassinet. The warrior knows exactly what happened. He takes his sword and he kills his best friend Taz. And then he hears a noise. He lifts the lid of the bassinet, and there he sees his infant baby, alive and well. And next to the bassinet, there's a rabid wolf that Taz had killed. He drops his sword, never picks it up again. He picks up Taz, takes Taz out to the courtyard, past the threshold, to the crossroads, and he buries him. Builds a nice monument for his best friend. And every day for the rest of his life, he goes out to the crossroads and he asks his friend for forgiveness. The sword of justice has the ability to save the innocent. when used with care and responsibility, when used recklessly, it has the ability to harm the innocent. Alicia Andrews is innocent of every count, every lesser included, every crime that she is on trial for today. Perception is not reality. The perception of the detectives in this case was certainly not reality. The state sees Alicia as some gangster queen pin. They see her as someone who has red hair, bright red hair, bad tattoos, who hangs out with gang bangers, gang members, gang associates, an individual who's cold and heartless. But perception is not reality. What do you see? Alicia Andrews is an individual, a young individual, a young woman. She's well-spoken, she's mild-mannered, she's brave, she's strong, and she's a respectable young woman, as you saw when she took the stand. She is not a gang member. She is not a gang associate. And that was clear from the evidence in this case, from every detective that testified. The Jacksonville sheriff's officers testified. She is not a gang member. She is not a gang associate. She isn't. It doesn't matter how many pictures they show, the state shows, right? In fact, I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love this exhibit. I love these exhibits from 2021. And why do we love these exhibits? Because they embody exactly what the state's case has been about. Absolutely nothing. All of the evidence, now most of it, of this evidence has been about a gang war in Jacksonville for which Alicia Andrews does not take any part in. 98% of the evidence in this case that you saw over the last 2 weeks has to do with all of these individuals, whether it be Quan, whether it be Young and Ace, whether it be 6 Block, whether it be 1200, 2100. You've learned about where Jacksonville gangs live, whether it's on the north side, the east side. You've learned all of these things, certainly beyond a reasonable doubt, that there are gangs in Jacksonville, that they kill each other, that they rap about killing each other, but you have not learned a single thing about whether Alicia Andrews intended to kill Charles Jones. From the start of this case, the defense never said anything about a romantic getaway with Alicia Andrews. The word romance never came from the defense. It came from Detective Ramos's perception of what Alicia Andrews told him.
Yes? Okay, so members of the jury, I've instructed you numerous times throughout this trial that what the attorneys say is not evidence, and you are not to consider it as such. It is just their opinions as far as what the evidence is and what the evidence means. Ultimately, what the evidence means is solely up to you all, okay? All right, go ahead.
As I was saying,
on the weekend, Charles Jones was killed. Alicia Andrews was on a weekend trip.
Is there a way to amplify the sound, Mr. McLemont?
I want to start from the beginning. Alicia Andrews was asked by her boyfriend to inquire about an Airbnb. He doesn't say to her, Alicia, I need you to figure out about an Airbnb so that we can go to Tampa and we can kill Julio Foolio. He doesn't say, Alicia, I need you to go and inquire about an Airbnb so that me and 3 of my friends and you can all go hang out in the Airbnb. He doesn't give her any extra information. Sort of similar to how Sean Gathright was not giving Kyla Enright any extra information. No context. That's not how these individuals operate. He just asked her to inquire about an Airbnb, and innocently, Alicia Andrews does that. She gets on Instagram, she sends a text message to someone she knows and asks, do you have an Airbnb available? And the person says to Alicia Andrews, what day do you want the Airbnb for? And Alicia Andrews, not knowing that this is some murder plot, says, the 23rd, or what day do you have available? The first indication that she has no idea that she has to be in Tampa on the 23rd for Julio Foolio. Or else she would not be telling the person that she's inquiring whatever day you have available, or what days do you have available. The first indication, from the very first piece of evidence that the state has. If the detectives did not have this perception of Alicia Andrews that was flawed, maybe that would have been the first indication that she's innocent. That she did not know what was happening. The second indication from that same transaction is that Alicia Andrews never pressed the issue with this person. In fact, Isaiah Chance and Rashad Murphy, off in their own world, got impatient. And they went ahead and booked the Airbnb without Alicia, because Alicia is not in the group. And because, like we said in opening statement, Alicia is not in the loop. Simple. The next thing that happens is that on the morning of the trip, what happens? Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance, they're at Sean Gathright's home. Where's Alicia? Not with the group. Not in the loop. Alicia Andrews is at home, doing whatever she's doing at home. Isaiah Chance gets to Sean Gathwright's house. You can see he has a gun. You can see he gets out of the car with the gun. He puts it in his waistband. He goes inside the house. He and Sean Gathwright begin to pack the bags, moving bags from car to inside the house, or from car to car. They're moving the bags, shuffling the bags. Hours worth of work, packing, get ready to go. It's only then, after they've done what they're conspiring to do, that they then go and pick up Alicia Andrews. She's not around them to know what they're doing, what they're planning, what they're discussing. She's not. It's simple. That's on camera. Thank the detectives for bringing you that footage. Because if we didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to sit here and tell you that. So Alicia Andrews comes to Sean Gathwright's home. When she gets to Sean Gathwright's home, she doesn't go inside and say hi to him or his parents or anyone who's inside. She doesn't do any of that. She waits in the car, like Isaiah Chance tells her to do. She waits there until the other car pulls up. She gets out of one car, she gets in another, and then she takes off. Mind you, this is the third car that she's been in for that day, the third one, because the first car was from her home to the place where Isaiah Chance picked her up. The second was Isaiah Chance's BMW to the home. And the third is this Impala that she's not familiar with to get down to Tampa. She gets to Tampa with her boyfriend and with Sean Gathwright. And at that time, as the evidence is clear, there is no Rashad Murphy, there is no Davion Murphy at the Airbnb. At the Airbnb. So she goes inside of the Airbnb, and we'll reverse a little bit about that whole front door, back door issue. But she goes inside, and Davion Murphy and Rashad Murphy are not there yet. They're just not. And when she's asked about whether they're there when she gets there, and she says no, it's the truth, by their own data. She goes upstairs, and she's in the room. At some point in time, these four men, they leave her at the Airbnb, and they go on their own mission, leaving her out of this group, out of the loop. So they leave her at the Airbnb, and she's not being texted to find out where Julio Foolio is. They're not asking her to DM Julio Foolio. There's no efforts by Alicia Andrews to reach out to anyone to figure out where Julio Foolio is, where his crew is at, where he might be partying. Nothing like that. Alicia Andrews is back at the Airbnb looking for food after she was abandoned by her boyfriend. Looking for Pizza Hut, which she can barely afford, and then ultimately has to settle for McDonald's. So we'll talk about Alicia Andrews' arrival at the Airbnb for a little bit. The detectives in this case were sure, 100% sure, that Alicia Andrews opened that front door with a code and let everyone else in through the back. Because as their theory, their perception would have it, is that Alicia Andrews is the cover for them. And so that was their perception, and so every piece of evidence that they looked at after that had to be that way. So this first piece of evidence, they see Alicia Andrews on the camera at the Airbnb. And they say, well, the reason why she's the only one on camera is because she opened the door and she let everyone else into the back. And what kind of sense would it make if everyone is involved, everyone's conspiring together? What kind of sense would it make for Alicia Andrews to know that there's a camera at the front door and for her to sacrifice herself for a group of men that she's never even met before? To go to the front door of the Airbnb, stare the camera in the face, and put her identity out there. What kind of sense would that make? It would not make any sense. Alicia Andrews is not even concerned with the camera. You can see that from the video. You can see it. She doesn't look at the camera. She's not staring it down. She's not worried about it.
I'm in the car, you don't remember, and then you took it over?
I follow you.
Okay. And in order to get in, you have to put in a code, and that code gets tracked on the app. I spoke to the owner of the Airbnb. Nobody else went in. How did they get in?
Did you let them in another door?
Is it possible you could have opened the back door?
What did Detective Ramos say? He said he spoke to the owner of the Airbnb. And so he's confident that he knows what he's talking about because he spoke to the owner. We spoke to the owner as well in court, in trial. And after he actually spoke to the owner, after he actually got the log in this case, the log, after he actually received it, a month or two prior to trial, you can't remember the date, he then realized that he was wrong. But that's not the only thing that Detective Ramos has been wrong about. It's not the only thing that the state has been wrong about in this case. But with the information that he did not have, with the video that he did have, he arrested Alicia Andrews on bad information. Without the log, without it, it is so evident that just by looking at the camera, Alicia Andrews never put in any code. It's evident because she knocks on the door. Why would Alicia Andrews knock on the door if she was the first person there and she had some code to put in to the Airbnb? She wouldn't. She would put in the code. She didn't put in a code because she knew somebody was already inside. So without the locking log, the Detective Ramos, should have known that there was no way that she was putting in a code to get in that front door because it's on video. But his perception led him down a different road. His perception was not reality. The door, as you can see, hinge opens. She goes in, and someone's inside says, "My bad." But it wasn't until a month before trial that Detective Ramos realized he messed up. There's conversation, argument from the state that because Alicia Andrews didn't park in those two front parking spaces in front of the Airbnb, that's some consciousness of guilt. First off, Alicia Andrews is not driving the car. She's not driving the vehicle. Much less does Alicia Andrews know which parking spots are assigned to the Airbnb unit, if they are even assigned. We heard no evidence that the parking spaces at the Airbnb are assigned to anyone, that those 2 spaces in front of it, right in front, are particularly for the individuals that rent that Airbnb. There's no evidence of that. Don't forget that. And she's not driving the car. So if Isaiah Chance or Sean Gathright parks on the side of the home, the Airbnb, she's going along with what they're doing. She's not going to tell them to park around the side. She doesn't even know where the door is until she's told where it's at. So, speed up. They leave the Airbnb. When I say they, I mean the 4 men. They leave the Airbnb, leave Alicia inside. When they don't see any sign or trace of Julio Foolio at teasers, what do? Here comes Sean Gathright. Sean Gathright says, I am going to text Kyla Enright, my girlfriend, and I'm going to see if she can get me the location for Julio Foolio. This is part 2 of their plan, or plan B. It's clear, because if Kyla Enright was a part of their plan the entire time, she would have been on point before they got there. It's clear that he's pivoting. He says, I need y'all text Fat Boy. Kyla Enright says, about what? If she was in on any plan, if she had any idea what was going down, she wouldn't be asking him about what. He says, hey, sis, I need you to text Fat Boy and tell him you're trying to pull up and you're trying to see him tonight. This is not a well thought out, orchestrated plan that the state would have you believe. These individuals are just flying by it, just trying to figure it out as they go. He know I'm gone. I've been FaceTiming him while I'm out. Sean Gathright says he in Tampa right now, but make it seem like you don't know he here or there. He at a B&B with 6. Be like, where you at? I want to pull up. I'm drunk. Then he says, never mind, at 12:39, for whatever reason. He's texting her these things. And then she writes back to him and says, we at Tier the Club. You want to come to the B&B with us, ? She thinks he might be where she's at, in a different city. She has no idea what Gathright is texting her for or really about. But she's responding to him, innocently responding to him. He's trying to use her to commit a murder, and she has no idea. These individuals are very good at concealing their intent, at concealing what they're trying to do, and they're good at doing it to the people that they're closest to. Sean Gathright, his mother, and his grandmother have zero clue about what Sean Gathright does in his spare time. Zero. And they live with him. His mother lives with him. That's his grandmother's baby. You cannot tell Sean Gathwright's grandmother anything about her baby. They have no idea. She says, who B&B? And he says 6. Fools. It's his B-Day and Fat Boy with him. She says, not here in Jacksonville? And he says, nah, they in Tampa. So whoever is texting from Kyla Enright's phone has no idea that it's 1, Foolio's birthday, 2, that Foolio is not in Jacksonville. And so is it really that difficult to understand that not everybody is looking at Foolio or watching his page or knows what his birthday is or knows what club he might be at. It's not difficult to believe that, to understand that, to comprehend that, because it's here in your face. And this is not Alicia Andrews. But Alicia Andrews is in the same position because she doesn't follow his Instagram page like that. She may press the button. Julio Foolio has millions of followers. But it's clear from the evidence that she wasn't searching his page at or around this time. It's clear because the state had evidence that Rashad Murphy was using his phone to search Julio Foolio on Instagram. That was clear. If the state had evidence that Alicia Andrews was searching for Julio Foolio on Instagram, they would have rolled out the red carpet, put that evidence up there on the stand, and presented it to you all. There is absolutely zero evidence that Alicia Andrews knew that Charles Jones was going to be in Tampa that weekend. Zero evidence. When Sean Gathright hears back from Kyle Enright, and Kyle Enright says, he's at Beezer's or something like that. She meant teasers. But Sean Gathright realizes that he's not getting anywhere with Kyle Enright because he's getting the same information that he already knew. So they have to pivot from that plan as well. So at that time, Isaiah Chance says, well, I might be able to figure this out. Alicia Andrews has a phone that maybe we can use. And you want to know why it's so obvious that Isaiah Chance was using Alicia Andrews? I mean, but for like the obvious detective realizing that in the interrogation. You want to know why it's so obvious outside of that? They don't need Alicia Andrews. They don't need her. You saw the photographs in Rashad Murphy's iCloud dump, which has a bag sitting in front of him with a burner phone or a prepaid phone. These individuals know how to get prepaid phones. They go to the store, they buy them, like Rashad Murphy did at the Walmart, and they're untraceable. But Isaiah Chance put his girlfriend's phone up as tribute. And she had no idea what was going on. Over 12,000 GPS coordinates from her phone for that weekend. 12,000. The others had very minimal. If you remember the testimony from Tom Pullen. Very minimal. I mean, I believe Sean Gathright may have had 70 or someone else had 47. Alicia Andrews had 12,000. She had no idea that she should be either turning off her phone or doing anything to conceal the GPS points. She had no idea because she wasn't in the group, because she had no role in this conspiracy, in this murder plot. So Isaiah Chance says, okay, you all go in another car, and I'll go with Alicia. I'll take her in the Chevy Cruze, or the silver Chevy Cruze, and you all go in the bigger car, the Impala. And so he does come back. He gives her some McDonald's. He deals with her hunger very minimally, right? McDonald's, some chicken nuggets. And then he takes her to Teasers under this guise that he's taking her out. And does she know what he's actually doing? Absolutely not. There's absolutely zero evidence that she knows what he's doing. So he takes her to Teasers, and he's trying to use her phone, and he does use her phone. And the state's version of the story is that she is cover for him outside of this club. And while he may have been using her, it makes absolutely zero sense that Alicia Andrews is cover for him. And Alicia Andrews is not an invisibility cloak. Standing next to Alicia Andrews does not make him less noticeable. If anything, it would make him more noticeable. Robert Howard knows who Isaiah Chance is with or without the medical mask. So if Robert Howard saw Isaiah Chance outside as he testified, he would, I guess, let his friends know Isaiah Chance is around and he's in the vicinity. If Robert Howard saw Isaiah Chance outside with a mask on, he would certainly let his friends know that Isaiah Chance is outside. Certainly. The mask itself, that's not helping. That's not concealing anything. If anything, that would make it worse. So when Alicia Andrews says that she's pregnant, and when she went out to the club, she decided to put on a mask, it's because she's pregnant and doesn't want to inhale smoke from all these people. She's not wearing the mask for COVID purposes. Yes, COVID, you wanted to social distance. You wanted to not be around somebody, so you put the mask on. Even if it was just a couple of people, maybe you'd put the mask on. And then, you know, as time went on, people got lax. They wouldn't put the mask on if it was around people that, you know, a couple people. They would only put it on outside in the public. And remember, this is 2024. It's not the neck of COVID. It's not March 2020 when COVID started, or a little bit after that. Alicia Andrews is wearing the mask because of her pregnancy and because she doesn't want to inhale smoke. And she had just been to McDonald's on a McDonald's run. And during that McDonald's run, somebody right next to her started smoking. And she wasn't going to tell Davion Murphy to put it out, somebody she doesn't know. This big individual in what she believes was his car. She wasn't going to tell him to put it out. But when they left McDonald's, she went and she got her face mask and they went to the club. Outside of Teasers, in the video that you see, that you've seen enough times, I won't play it over for you, but outside of Teasers, you see Alicia Andrews arrive at Teasers. Her boyfriend is driving the vehicle. They get out. He asks her for the phone. She gives it to him. She unlocks it. He tries to make a call. The only logical explanation for what happened when he tried to make that call is that the other person did not pick up the phone. Why is that logical, and why is it the only logical explanation? Is because a few minutes after that, he's texting Sean Gathright to pick up the effing phone. Twice. You do that when somebody does not answer the phone. So when they're outside at Teasers and they're on video camera and you see him with the phone there, yes, he's probably trying to call and it's probably ringing. But the reason why he texts a few minutes later to pick up the phone is because the phone didn't connect. And the call detail records at 2:31 show that there was a call that went out and a call that did not connect. It didn't connect. So whatever the state wants you to think that Alicia overheard in that time, there was nothing to overhear. And Isaiah Chance says, okay, well, this club is packed, let's go. Alicia Andrews is like, all right, whatever. She gets in the passenger seat. They go to another area off of Hillsborough. This is what the detective testified to. And for some reason, the detective wasn't able to track down the location on Hillsborough where Alicia Andrews was at, but he was able to track down the other locations. He was able to track down the McDonald's that she went to and got cameras there. He was able to track down Teasers. He was able to track down Truth 18. He was able to track down the USF parking lot pole camera. And he was able to track down Tesla cameras, Home 2 Suites cameras, all of these cameras, except for the ones on Hillsborough. And Alicia Andrews testified that she was at another place called Players Club. And that that's the location where she went up, where I guess Isaiah Chance went up to the bouncer, asked how much it cost to get in, gave them too high of a price. He's like, okay, let's try to go somewhere else. And Alicia Andrews, there's no Charles Jones at this second place. There's no Julio Foolio at this second place. And the reason why There's no camera footage there. The reason why that place was never really discovered is because it doesn't fit the narrative. Because Charles Jones was not there at that other place. So if Charles Jones is never there, the detectives aren't trying hard enough to figure out what's going on in that area, why they went over there, whether there's any cameras over there, because Charles Jones never made it to that location. He was never slated to go there. So they keep repeating over and over throughout the trial, you went to the only places where Charles Jones was at, the only 2 clubs he was at. That's not the only places where Alicia Andrews was at. So from there, they get in the car, they go to Truth 18, but on the way, I guess the GPS coordinates say they went to Teasers, and then they go to Truth 18. The times would show that if they did go back to Teasers, that Charles Jones was already gone by the time they made it back to Teasers, if I'm not mistaken. So then, somehow, Isaiah Chance takes her to Truth 18. Somehow he figures out that he should be at Truth 18. They go to Truth 18. He's again using her phone. He's on FaceTime with someone. He is showing the person the Truth 18 building. And he takes a picture, and Alicia Andrews says, I heard him talking to an individual. I don't know who he was talking to. But I heard him say, this place is packed, and where are y'all at? Isaiah Chance is a smart individual. He doesn't want to tell Alicia Andrews what's going on. He's not going to say on the phone exactly what he's doing. He has a way that he can communicate with somebody on the other phone, on the other end, without telling Alicia Andrews enough information for her to figure out what is going on. It's simple. Where y'all at? And they may say where they're at. And he's telling them where he's at. And if they're in the same group and they're on the same page, they clearly know that they should probably be at this location. Because they've already had this conversation. They've already had these discussions. He doesn't have to say much. She's following him around. At some point they get back in the car, and he starts to drive erratic. And Alicia Andrews said that this was a different behavior. He was acting strange. He was acting funny. And he drives on that USF pole camera. You see he comes down this way. They make the right at the light. They make a U-turn, and they make a right into USF. And they're over there for 5 minutes. That part of it is off camera. I don't know if there was another pole camera over there that Detective Ramos could have picked up, but it's off camera. Isaiah Chance gets out of the car, just stops the car in sort of like the middle of the road, gets out of the car, takes the phone with him, and is out talking, out of earshot of Alicia Andrews. They stay in that area for about 5 minutes, then he gets back in the car, runs a red light, goes into the Home 2 Suites parking lot, is in there for less than a minute, goes in, circles around, and leaves out. And why does he leave out of the parking lot before anything happens? Because he doesn't want Alicia Andrews to see what happened. He doesn't want Alicia Andrews to witness what happened. He kept everything away from Alicia Andrews so that she wouldn't know what was happening. They get back to the Airbnb, and these other individuals are already there. They're already there. Whether they left their guns inside of whatever car they drove there in, whether they packed them up before Alicia got there. When she got there, she went inside, she just saw these individuals. Like she said, they looked disoriented, they smelled, and she decided to just go upstairs. And anytime that she did come downstairs and they were talking, anytime that she did come downstairs, they would stop talking because she's not in the group. And it makes complete sense, because why would some strangers, Davion and Rashad Murphy, why would they include Alicia Andrews in a plot to kill an individual? They don't even know Alicia Andrews. Why would you include someone you do not know in a plot to kill a famous person? But Isaiah Chance, he wanted to bring Alicia Andrews along, and whatever he had to work out with them, with these men or whatever, he worked out with them, and she was there. Common sense, if we're talking common sense, would have you know that he and the other men probably had a conversation. This is my girl, look, don't worry about her. I'll keep her out of it. And she was kept out of it. Alicia Andrews is never seen with any guns on any of these cameras. Alicia Andrews is not carrying any of these big, heavy bags as much as the state wants you to believe that she is. She carries her bags, and then the one time she's carrying the pink bag is when she puts it in the Uber. And that pink bag clearly does not have heavy ammunition and rifles in it, clearly. When I asked Detective Ramos, will those rifles fit in the pink bag? Instead of just saying no, because that's the truthful and honest answer, he says, I don't know. I don't know how big the pink bag is, but we all can see the pink bag on the video. We can see how small it is, the size of it in relation to Alicia Andrews.